Hi everyone, today's palette review video is going to be on the collaboration between Amy Loves Makeup and Amy Hearts Beauty. This is the Alma palette, which means soul in Spanish. This review will include 5 different eye looks as well as swatches and my thoughts on all of the shadows. So let's dive right into talking about the packaging. The Alma palette has cardboard packaging, which is my personal favorite. I just love the compactness of cardboard packaging. And it is actually rather large. You're getting 15 shadows in here, and it does have a certain amount of weight to it, which is nice. So with the 15 shadows, you are also getting a mirror up top, and then thankfully all of the names are printed on the inside. That is so helpful, and I am so appreciative of that because I gripe on any brand out there that doesn't put their shade names on the inside of the palette because I find that really annoying. On the back of the palette, you have a sweet little message from Amy. For the 15 shadows in here, you will be paying $42.50 US. However, the first launch of this palette apparently did really well because they are completely sold out of the initial launch. They are, however, doing a restock based on how many people order it. So you would have to go to their website and order a pre-launch of the next launch of this palette if you do want to get your hands on it. For the $42.50, you are getting 15 shadows. However, I can't find anywhere that says how many grams per shadow you're actually getting. If I had to ballpark it looking at these, I'm gonna guess 1.5 grams, but I can't confirm that for sure. The pan size is quite large, which I like to see. They look like the same size as a MAC eyeshadow, which is in the 1.3, 1.5 gram mark. All right, now that we've discussed a little bit about the palette, I'm gonna slide in some swatches so you can see exactly how these look like swatched out on my arm. Okay, so you've seen the swatches. Let's talk a little bit more about the shadows in depth. So with the 15 shades in here, you are actually getting 6 mattes, which is fantastic. I love palettes that include plenty of mattes, and the rest are, of course, shimmers. What's interesting about this palette is that I feel like the shimmer quality changes depending on the color. You've got some that are a little bit more flaky and need a little bit more packing and blending onto your eye, and then you've got some that just absolutely glide onto the eye. Specifically, ones that glide especially well would be Roman, which is unreal. I'm wearing that on my lid today. I don't actually think I have a better teal or turquoise, I never know what color to call that, better turquoise color in my collection at all. I think hands down, this is the best one I have ever used. It went on my eyes so smoothly and so pigmented, and I filmed it for today's look, so you will see my reaction to actually putting it on my eyes for the first time. It was absolutely unreal. Lovely up here is also of the same nature as Roman, very smooth. However, you do get into a few shades that are just a little bit more flaky, which would be Lover down here. It's a gorgeous shade, but I did feel like it required a little bit more work. And then interestingly, Kindness up here, a pink shade that I'm not necessarily known for using, but I did try that one out and I was expecting to use it with a wet brush just because it looked a little bit more flaky. However, I actually found that it performed better when I used it dry, which was very interesting. So the pigmentation was great on that, but it did have a little bit of flakiness, I would say. Some of the most interesting shadows in this palette are definitely this column over here. Amy really likes duochrome pale highlighters that she often puts on the inner corner of her eye, and she's included 3 of them in here. And when I saw that, I was super excited because I also like to use that sort of pale ivory shifting duochrome type color. I wear those kinds of shades a lot as a highlighter, and I do really like to put them on the inner corner of my eye as well. So what's fun is you're getting Heavenly here, which is a lavender shifting color. Petal over here is beautiful. It's a pink shifting one, but it's like a luminescent pink. Like it's not super pink, it's, I don't know, luminescent pink. Gorgeous. And then the bottom one down here, Cloud 9, is a shifting blue color. These are so much fun to play with. I have Cloud 9 on the inner corner of my eye today, and they bring so much depth and dimension to a look. I am so happy to see that she's included 3 of those kinds of colors in here because they're the best. And you really don't see that kind of duochromatic color incorporated that often into a palette. Usually a brand might pick one, but they don't normally go with three. So it was nice that Amy had the control to say, hey, I want three of these things in this palette. One of the shades I found particularly interesting was Wish over here. When I first looked at that color, I was a little bit nervous, to be honest. It looked like a very dated color from the 90s at first glance, because it's like this pale silvery blue. It's got some flecks of silver in it, and I was initially concerned that I was going to put it on my eye and it was just going to look like a look I had put together in high school. So with some trepidation, I put it on my eye and I was blown away. The shade has, again, more of that sort of duochrome quality to it. It came across as more of a icy metallic icicle color, really. Like it looked like snow, but with a pale blue cast to it. I was blown away, and I was so happy too, because I went in thinking that it was going to look like a look from 1997, and I was not looking forward to my makeup that day. But then I put it on my eyes and I was like, okay, I really like this shade. Okay, moving on to the mattes. I did find I had the most amount of problem with the mattes. I feel like I just had a little bit more skipping than I'm used to on my eyelids with them, which meant that they didn't always necessarily stick in the manner that I normally do my eyeshadow. I generally pat my eyeshadows on, specifically mattes. I do that with for sure. And I found when I just sort of patted them on as opposed to blending it, I was getting a little bit of skipping. So I found that I had to blend a little bit more than I'm used to, and that did alleviate some of the problems. But I did find that I did get a little bit of patchiness every now and then, especially sort of like in this upper area. I don't really know why, but it did seem to occur at least twice when I was using the mattes. I did find that layering the mattes really helped, and just blending it out a little bit more than I was used to did seem to alleviate that problem. One of the things that makes me really happy with this palette is the fact that Amy has included two darker shades in different tones. I get really annoyed when makeup brands only put a matte black, or I don't know, like a dark gray, I guess. Those seem to be the most common types of deepener colors, or a dark brown. Thankfully, Amy has put in like a dark navy and like an aubergine color here. And that means that you've got a whole bunch of options in order to blend all of the other colors out. I really like a deeper outer corner color. And oftentimes with palettes, I'm really stuck with black. And sometimes black just doesn't work. So I was really happy to see this matte navy, which is a color that I do reach for quite a bit in the outer corner area. And then it was really interesting having inspiration here as that darker aubergine type color. That was a lot of fun to play with. I do like that Amy has included some matte colors that are, for me, basically crease colors. I love putting this purple through the crease. It looks really pretty. I do find though that Spirit and Blessed look a little bit too similar for me, or at least on my eyes. I would have preferred a little bit more difference between the two colors, because fundamentally I just don't see that much of a difference on my own eyes. I do also like the fact that she's included this shade up here that's basically like your mid-tone crease blending color. I did use that a few times, and it is the right color tone for my skin. If you're deeper than me though, I don't think it's gonna show up that much. One other thing to be aware of with the mattes specifically is that they actually have a lot of kick up in the pan. No matter how gentle I went in with my brush, I always had a lot of powder poofing up. So I would definitely recommend doing your eyeshadow first before you do your face makeup. So that's the shades discussed in detail. Let's take a look at the 5 eye looks that I created using this palette. The first look uses Dreamweaver through the crease. I really like that purple through the crease. I think it's really pretty, and it's got enough dimension to it too. It's not too pale, which sometimes a very pale purple in the crease can look a little bit awkward on me. This one's deep enough that it does look really beautiful. I have a Lovely on the lid. That is a beautiful shade. That purple is like a reflecting blue color. It is so freaking cool. I have Inspiration on the outer corner of the eye, and then I put Heavenly on the inner corner just to sort of brighten it up. For look number 2, I used Bloom through the crease, which is that sort of mid-tone brown color. I then have Lover all over the lid. That's the shade that I said had a little bit more flaky texture to it. If you do drag it across your lid though and really pull the color across your lid, you will notice that it blends out really nicely. But if you just pat it on, you're gonna end up with a few flakes. I then have Taurus on the outer corner of the eye, and then Cloud 9 on the inner corner as well. For look number 3, I used Spirit through the crease. I then put Wish on the lid, and this is when I discovered just how awesome that color is. It is not a dated blue. I love it so much. I then put Taurus on the outer corner again. I just really love a matte navy blue on that outer corner area. I then applied Cloud 9 on the inner corner as well. I really went back to Cloud 9 quite a bit actually. It's a great color. Look number 4 is so much different than I was expecting, but I really like how it came out. So I used Bloom through the crease again, and then I put Kindness on the lid. This kind of pink is not very me, but I wanted to give it a shot because it is in the palette. And when I first put it on, I was like, oh no, this is very pink. But to balance it out, I used Inspiration on the outer corner of the eye, and that really brought like a raspberry type color to the overall look. And then I used Petal on the inner corner of the eye and sort of dragged it into the first third of the eye to sort of balance out the super pinkness of Kindness. And this was beautiful. I really like Petal. It's such a fun color to wear, and I do want to wear it just all over the lid at some point because it is so, so gorgeous. So for today's look, I knew the focus was going to be on the shade Roman because I just wanted to play with it on camera because it looked so stunning in the pan. So the first thing I did was take Spirit and put that through the crease, just really buffed and blended that out. And then I took Roman on a flat shader brush and put that on my lid, and you can see my reaction. Look at how freaking pigmented and foiled and beautiful that shadow is. It is so gorgeous. From there, I took Taurus and put that on the outer corner of the eye and then pulled that through the crease and blended that into Roman. For the lower lash line, I decided to use Lovely all over the lower lash line, but then I realized I kind of needed to blend it out a little bit at the edge because it didn't really mesh that well with the upper lid colors. So I took a little bit of Taurus and just put that on the very outer corner of my lower lash line. To finish off the whole look, I put Cloud 9 on the inner corner of the eye and blended it into the upper and lower lash lines. To me, this look is absolute perfection, and it really highlights the colors that I'm drawn to in this palette. So I am really happy with how this look came out. All right, so you've seen my swatches of the shadows, you've heard my thoughts, and you've seen 5 different eye looks with the Alma palette. So to sum up my feelings about it, I think it's beautiful. I think it's really exciting to see a smaller YouTuber, because even though Amy only has 20,000 followers, it's not that often that you see someone that doesn't have a million followers collaborating with a brand. And I'm not very knowledgeable about the indie makeup space, but what I like here is the fact that I see Amy all over this palette. For me, Amy, I don't know, the color purple just represents her to me because I feel like she does a ton of eyeshadow looks with purple and they look glorious on her. That woman can blend. She does such a great job with her eyeshadow. But for me, it's nice to see that she has collaborated with this brand and it looks seamless. Like, this looks like Amy in a palette to me. And I know Amy wasn't necessarily creating this just for herself. She also wants to have this appeal to potential customers of Amy Heart's beauty. So I think it's just a great collaboration. I like the fact that she's got these duochrome colors over here, that she's got so many purples that make up the base of this palette. I like that she's pulled in more turquoise and blue colors and really made this palette her own. And for full disclosure, Amy did send me this palette. When I got that Instagram DM, I was like, you came out with a palette? What? What's happening? I'm very excited for Amy. I love that she's come up with something so unique and so fun, and it's not like other palettes in the market. Let's be real. Have you seen anything that looks like this on the market? I certainly haven't. And that's what I like to see. I like to see something that's different, that's not just regurgitated makeup products that seem to keep coming out where they all look the same after a little while. This one looks different to me, and I'm so proud of Amy for coming up with something unique and interesting and collaborating with a brand too. So that's going to be it for my review on the Amy Heart's Makeup and Amy Loves Beauty Alma palette. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye!